Ralph, tell me a little bit about this space here. Where are we?
We are in Boyle Heights, just adjacent to the Arts District in Los Angeles, underneath the new 6th Street Bridge, which I think you've seen outside. Yeah, really interesting part of Los Angeles, a lot of artists, a lot of people working on, you know, different motor cars and sports and yeah, stuff like that. So it's a very eclectic part of Los Angeles, and just really feels that there's a lot of creative energy here.
And what are you doing? I mean, you're a creative guy and you do a lot of stuff. I did some research on the internet, but yeah. It's really overwhelming. So maybe you can talk a little bit. I think it
all dovetails together, because I think everything is, you know, part of a creative process. I started off when I was a kid doing art, painting, drawing, sculpting. When I was 13, I got my first camera, and that was very liberating, because all of a sudden you had this whole new world opening up. And I had a darkroom when I was 14, 15, where I'd print them. And then when I left school, I got a job working for television as a news cameraman and, you know, shooting film, which was also, you know, the next progression. When I left South Africa in the early 1980s, I went to the United Kingdom, and it was the early days of music videos. And I started directing music videos at like 21, 22 years old, and I did about 400 of them between 1982 and 1998. And then from there I went on to film, and then sort of fell in love with art all over again. But I think they're all part of, you know, the same spectrum, because you take what you've learned in art and you take it to photography, and then you take those ideas of composition into film. And then I brought all of that cinematic things back, you know, that cinematic knowledge back into my art, and I work with a big team of people. So you know, when you're in film, it's collaborative process. You know, you've got a cinematographer, an editor, a composer doing the music, there's art directors, and everybody's got their skill. And I think I brought some of that back into my art. So but it's very liberating. You know, I kind of really love what I'm doing, and I can show you around some of the things we do. I grew up in South Africa, and I always had a fascination for African beadwork. And it was just, I felt like a very underappreciated art form. It was looked on as a craft, and it was looked on as being a kind of a low craft, you know, during apartheid, and people thought it was something that you sold to tourists or whatever. So I wanted to take that and I wanted to transform it into, you know, an art form. We use traditional skills, but we use colors and patterns that don't reference any particular tribe. I wanted it to feel postmodern and Pan-African, and you know, just to have a, you know, a very contemporary feel about it. So
where did this come from, that beads are so popular for the art in South Africa?
Well, you know, traditionally, you know, back in the 1400s, 1500s, 1600, when traders would come to Africa, they would bring beads, and that was a currency they would trade for food, for, you know, various things. And, you know, that started this amazing, you know, tradition of African beadwork, which is, you know, incredible, the skills and whatever involved in it. So, you know, that's kind of how it came. There is no bead factory in the African continent, which is something I found out when I started working, you know, in beads. So originally the beads were Murano glass from Italy, and when Murano stopped doing it, they are Preciosa from Bohemia and Czechia, Czech Republic.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
you had one pretty amazing piece here. That's just the model of it, but
yes.
This also exists in real.
Yes, and this model is incredibly anatomically correct to what we made. I mean, the actual MiG itself, which we beaded, is 52 foot long, 24 foot wide, and about 20 foot high. And this is a very accurate scale model. We had it 3D printed. We made it up, you know, on a computer in a CAD type program, and there were only, I think it was a new printer. There's only 2 of them in the United States that could print this kind of detail in color. But yeah, it's because we can't have the real plane here, it's a nice reminder of it.
Where's the plane now?
The plane is in storage. We just brought it back from Seattle a few weeks ago. It was up at the Museum of Flight in Seattle for about 6-7 months. And
where did you get this plane from?
We got it from a company in Florida. You know, the MiG-21 was the most mass-produced fighter aircraft of all time. There was 12,000, 14,000 of them made. It was part of a squadron that was bought by a US arms contractor from the Polish Air Force, and it was supposed to be used in something called aggressor squadrons. That's where you get a squadron of, you know, Russian planes or Chinese planes, and you get to test them against, you know, your aircraft. But these aircraft didn't have proper service records, so they were never used, and it was sitting on a runway, and they said, you can come and take one. So we did.
But do you have a storage problem?
No, not really, because before we could even start affixing the beads to it, we had to engineer it so the wings come off and they stack on a cart. They're only about 12 foot high. The tail fins come off, the top of the tail comes off, you know, the airspeed indicator comes off, the drop tanks come off, and they all go onto crates and carts. So you can wheel it around. When we took it up to Seattle, it was on 3 flatbed trucks in crates and stuff, but it took us 2 days to get it put together. 1 day with some riggers and you know, and some equipment, and then the second day just on our own.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you have? I mean, you have a huge space here.
Yes. And, these were some of the costumes we made up for the photo shoot, and you'll see some pictures as we go along. We did these for the photo shoot, and then we thought we'd really like them to be part of the exhibition. So we put a lot of detail in. You can see some of the beadwork. There's pieces of the MiG in here. These were rivets we'd cast of the MiG. So it's a little bit of everything. You know, we did the helmets and whatever. If you look over here, this has got a lot of, these are pieces that we'd taken off the MiG, off the inside of it. So, you know, it all kind of, yeah. It was a mixture of some of the beaded pieces that didn't make it onto the aeroplane, and you know, a lot of these are pieces that came off the actual aircraft. And here there's some more pieces you can see with the Russian Cyrillic writing on them.
Great.
I kind of really loved this guy with his helmet and the wings, and you know, we wanted to feel, you know, sort of, you know, Afro-futuristic, to have that kind of a vibe to it. I'll show you some of the prints when we get over there, but if you look in the catalog over here, these were photos we did of the MiG when we were done. And the idea was to create this world. You can see the sort of cinematic influences.
Yeah, I love the Afrofuturism.
Yeah.
I think they had an exhibition at the Venice Biennial
several
years ago, or at least one artist was in the show, in the main show.
Yeah, I'd love to have seen that. Yeah. So this was done in a warehouse just down the road from here. We used different colored smoke, we had lighting, we did, you know, approached it very much like a film shoot in many ways. So that was really interesting.
Wow.
So this was number 2 in the series of weapons of mass production. First in the series was the AK-47, which was the most mass-produced, you know, weapon of all time. It's done more damage, it's killed more people than HIV, AIDS, and the atom bomb put together. And it proliferated. When I started doing it, the idea was, you know, always seeing AK-47s coming into Africa, always seeing them, you know, whether it be Somali pirates or the Shining Path, or even the way in South Africa it was seen as a weapon of liberation, and yet it had become a scourge of crime, you know, in modern day Johannesburg. So we wanted to make non-lethal, beautiful AK-47s out of beads and wire in South Africa and export them to the rest of the world. We wanted to reverse the arms trade and talk about the arms trade. And, you know, for each one we sold, it represented a month of living expenses for the artisans I was working with. And that's kind of how I got started. The second was the Casspir. It was a police vehicle designed in South Africa as a police vehicle in the late 70s, early 80s. It was very much a weapon of oppression by the apartheid government, and we wanted to take it back, we wanted to own it, we wanted to, you know, cover it in beads, make it African, and really talk about it, because the Casspir made its way over to America with the Second Gulf War. You know, when the Americans were being hit by roadside bombs and buried bombs and landmines and ambushes, they bought them, these exact apartheid vehicles, off the South African arms industry, and they used them to patrol in places like Fallujah and Baghdad. They renamed it, well, the Casspir was an anagram of the Council for Strategic and Industrial Research and the South African Police. The Americans rebranded it the MRAP, Mine Resistant Ambush Protected. You know, when we showed it in Seattle, I met 4 soldiers who said they were in one of those exactly the same in Afghanistan. And I said to them, do you know the history of it? And they said, yes, they started in the US in about 2003. And I go, no, that comes from South Africa circa 1978. So once we'd beaded it, we took it back into Soweto and we recreated photos from the 80s and 90s. You know, so we went from the most produced handgun or gun in the world to what is now really one of the most produced armored personnel carriers, and then onto the MiG-21, which is the most prolifically produced supersonic fighter jet of all time. So these were a couple of test prints we did of the MiG-21. It was a photo shoot. Like I said, we shot down the road from here, and you know, adjacent to the LA River. And this is some of the merchandise that we sold in the gift shop in Seattle. It was made by the artisans, and they sold it as their own work over there. So yeah, any questions?
What is this?
Oh, this is a hippo skull. It's not a real hippo skull, but you know, at the time I wanted to talk about how trophy hunting had become such a craze in South Africa. When I'd fly from Atlanta, when you got to Johannesburg airport, and I'd go and pick up my art supplies at the oversized baggage, I'd count 12, 15, 21 hunting rifles. And these guys would come, they'd pick up their hunting rifles, they'd all be dressed like Ted Nugent in their bush gear, and they'd go off to kill things. And you can shoot any animal you like in Southern Africa for the right amount of money. People were paying $500,000 to shoot one of the last surviving northern white rhinos. You know, it's become a whole industry. So I really wanted to talk about the beauty of these animals, and you know, why it wasn't enough just to take photographs and leave footprints and, you know, enjoy these animals, and why people were coming halfway around the world just to kill something. You know, drove me to distraction, I think.
Since when do you have this space?
We've had it since 2017, so we've been fixing it up. It's been a work in progress the whole time. So, you know, it's 9 years we've been in here. When we moved in, it was just empty. 4 empty bays, but you know, as we've worked our way through it, you know, we've picked up things along the way, and you know, we've had artist friends who've given us work and their work. So the whole thing's taken on a kind of a life of its own. These are some more photos from the MiG. This was a series I did and had an exhibition with a graffiti writer called Bisco Smith, where we kind of merged our style. He works in black and white, I work in color, so I guess he won that one, but it was just really wonderful working with him.
And this is one of your workspaces here, or
yeah, this
PC terminals.
Yeah, this is my workspace. This is where I do a lot of the you know, the design work. So yeah, I can move this out the way. But yeah, so this is where I do it, and then we've got a space where we do more of the practical work, and I can show you that as well.
It's a nice atmosphere in here.
Yeah,
you know, outside is quite hot at the moment, but this is, and you still have natural light.
Yes, no, it's beautiful, and outside it was a railway track back in the day, and people would come and graffiti it. So we've left all the original graffiti up. And we tried to keep, you know, we kept the train tracks, we filled it in so you could walk on it, but yeah, it's kind of really beautiful.
It's like part of the High Line, you know, High Line.
Exactly. And this we designed as an artist friend built it. It was kind of like a train tunnel, but you know, we kind of needed it for shade. Now my daughter is working here, she works in glass, and she's taken over the space. This is kind of a space where we do entertaining. It's a space where when we have a team, we all have lunch and whatever. I can show you around in a little, but let's move on. Hey, this is Paul, our cinematographer, videographer.
Hi, Paul.
It's his edit space.
Hi. What you are working on at the moment?
Right now, we're working on this like 15-minute video about our time at the Museum of Flight, basically. And,
The show with the MiG?
Yeah, exactly. The exhibition over there, and you know how they put it together and stuff.
Yeah, nice.
All right, and we've got a small photography film studio over here. You know, some of my equipment from back in the day, and we use it. Idea was always to have a kind of a multimedia, you know, way of showing the art and making the films and doing the photographs, etc. So yeah, this is the space. And
but I want to ask you, I mean, you said it sounded so easy. You started with photography and then film business. But for some people, it's not that easy to get into this, these jobs. How did you do that?
It's never been easy, but you know, when I mean, you know, art, you need some paints and some brushes and whatever, and photography, maybe a camera. I was lucky enough to get a job in television when I left school. And when I went to the United Kingdom, when I went to London in the early 80s, it was the early days of music videos. I had a Bolex camera, which is the one thing I brought with me from South Africa. I got a job working at a production company making tea and, you know, going out to buy people cigarettes and bottles of wine. But I would get the film that was left over from the shoots. We'd recan it, I'd use it in the Bolex. I'd shoot little bits on some of the music videos. For some of the established directors who were always happy to have an extra camera there, you know. I was the runner, but, you know, every now and then they'd say, get your camera out and do a shot of this and that. And then I'd take the scraps of film that were left and I started making my own films. I'd put it through the lab with some of the bigger jobs, and then I would use the edit suite to cut it together and show it to record companies. So people said, oh, he made a short film with no money. Maybe if we give him £5,000, he could do something, and you know, and you work your way up that way. So yeah, you know, it's a process, and it's never easy. It is always difficult, but I think if you enjoy the steps along the way, if you enjoy actually doing it, that's the most important thing. You know, it's not getting there; it's the journey. It's not the destination.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and if you're an artist, you have to do it. You know, it's
you
not
have
a
to,
job
yeah.
as a regular job.
I always have to have some kind of a visual creative outlet, or I start, you know, going a little bit mad.
Nice. A lot of batteries to charge.
Yes,
I know that.
you know all about that then. Yes.
Yeah, power is everything.
Yes.
And storage.
Power and storage. Yes.
Yeah, and storage.
Yeah. We have 80 terabytes in here.
80.
So.
Okay. Do you use because I switched to tape, or not switch, but the archive is on tape. Do you use that as well?
You mean like physical tape?
Yeah, LTO.
No, I haven't gotten into it, but I know
Yeah.
that's the way to archive is through LTO.
Because I was hesitant for years, but then...
yeah, archiving is always a thing, because, you know, sooner or later there's nothing to read your floppy disks, or, you know, like all that stuff changes. I mean...
Because like the hard drives fail.
They do fail, yeah.
Hard drives fail quicker than like tape. Tape is like the most...
I mean,
like, long-lasting.
it's interesting, because when I first worked in television, they had 2-inch tape. And the way they used to edit it was like put iron filings on it, and there'd be 7 lines, and they'd cut on the 4th line, and they'd splice the tape together. And then it was like 1-inch tape, then pneumatics, then, you know, a whole process. I mean, Betacam and VHS, and a lot of those things just dropped by the wayside, and, you know.
Yeah, I can remember, you know, the first things were DV tapes.
DV tapes, of course, yeah.
And then... also, yeah, all these storage devices, you know, zip drives.
Zip drive, yeah.
Zip drives and things like that, and yeah, you have to copy it from the old things to new things, and it's really a pain in the ass.
It is a pain in the ass. Good. So let's carry on. Shall we go and have a look at the Casspir?
Mm-hmm.
Put some lights on. Hey guys. So this is our production space. This is Nick and Max and Dorian. Nick is the I forget your title. Project manager. Nick runs everything. He's really took the lead on the MiG and the engineering and how everything was done, and also as an artist, and has a very big artistic input into the whole process. So if you want to ask him any questions, that's also cool.
Yeah, tell me about your day. When does it start? What do you do? And maybe we have to. Oh, can you stand? Beside? Yeah, because of the mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we just work about 4 days a week, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and do whatever needs to get done. For the MiG, right now we have about three or four people here every day working on stuff. But for the MiG, we had anywhere between just me and Ralph to like 15 people at a time,
and coordinating with the team in South Africa.
And coordinating with the South Africa team too, which is a lot of WhatsApp and sending stuff back and forth, and lots of pictures and calls in the middle of the night. Right now we're kind of working on some newer stuff and some different beaded panels, and just doing some new ideas and trying to see what's next.
Yep.
For everything.
How big is the team in South Africa?
Well, full-time team, there's 6 men and Lady Tenjiwe with 2-3 women, but she can expand to about 70-80 women in the rural areas who can do this amazing beadwork and incredible detail work. You see like the piece behind Cindy over there, which is waiting for a frame, but if you get close you can see how incredible it is, the red one. The detail.
We can turn on more lights too. If
you want. You know what, I'm doing good.
And right now the coordination we're doing with the MiG was like a lot more than what we're doing right now, but kind of what we're doing right now is we're working on all these panels, and we're trying to build the frames. So I don't know if you saw in the front office on the ping pong table, we have all those.
No, I'll take you there and show you.
Those. We have like the individual pieces of these frames. So we're trying to figure out how to like do this kind of stuff where we don't have to send this whole panel back to Africa because that's a lot for shipping. So we're having them build these frames in like single pieces. So it's actually kind of the hardest thing we've ever done to like, get them to fit right and get everything.
Yeah, it would be a whole different story if they were in the studio in South Africa, which is
right, because they could just have this and they could just build it on there. But we're trying to, you know, we send this color design, we send the dimensions, how thick it is here, and. You know, on the MiG, there's always one little thing that would get messed up, but it would be fine. But on something like this, if one little thing's messed up, then it doesn't work. So it's kind of crazily the hardest thing we've ever done.
Oh, here's some of the frames have arrived.
Here's some of the pieces. So yeah, just so that we don't have to send back and forth a big giant thing.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of like how we work. So we would make up a template like this. And then, you know, we'd send it to South Africa. They would make this up.
It's the other way around, right?
I think it's, oh yeah, there's the yellow.
Yeah. Maybe not.
Yeah, it's sort of...
There's always they're always a little bit different.
Yeah. You know, what'll happen is the ladies will run out of one color and they still want to finish it and get paid, so they just substitute, which makes it a little bit random but really nice. So you can see this is going to go inside here, and this will be a piece. And yeah, so it's very much about you know, sending and getting the work back. You know, the details really incredible. The work is really incredible.
Yeah, sometimes random is good.
Random is good,
not
you
too
know.
Perfect,
yes.
you know,
Yeah.
it's,
like this was a piece that like we wanted to make for the fuel tanks of the MiG to go around seams, but it just didn't work. So it turns out that it fit this piece perfect, and now we can use it for that. So.
Yeah. You can see how this.
Yeah.
It's the same. So that's kind of the technique we work with.
And we can do a little bit of the beadwork here to adjust things and make things fit perfect, but for the most part we leave that all to Africa, and then if we've kind of learned a little bit how to like adjust things if we need to.
Yeah. What's amazing is how damn hard it is, you know?
It's real hard, yeah.
I mean, it looks effortless. It is unbelievably difficult.
a lot of things that look simple are not that simple to make.
Yes.
100%.
You know, I don't know, it took us, what, 5.5 years doing the MiG?
Yeah.
And
5.5 years.
yeah. How many beads was it? 35
I think
million?
it was 40
million.
40 million something beads.
So, you know, that's all handmade, one bead at a time. So it's quite a process.
But if the result is so exciting, then it's worth it. You know, it's incredible.
It feels very satisfying. You know, yeah.
Can imagine that.
And you know, it's just I like working with people. I know a lot of artists are solitary, but it is really nice, you know, working with a team of people and having their input and their expertise and their opinions, and that's kind of the way we like to work.
Yeah, when I first started here, I kind of just like got used to how Ralph liked to work and kind of picked up on it over the first few weeks. And then later on, when I started bringing in more people to come and help us, they're like, what are we supposed to do? And I'm like, just start working. Just start doing stuff. You're here because Ralph wants your input and your creativity, and he wants to collaborate with you. And as soon as you start doing something, he's going to jump in and he's going to start guiding everything. And that makes Ralph a really fun collaborator to work with. And it kind of seamlessly allows people with like really amazing skills to use those skills that they're best at and kind of find a way into the project and how they can help the best.
Yeah. So you're not forcing them to do something they not.
Sometimes people get forced to do something that they don't want to do, but for the most part, we like
to use their individual talent.
like we bring people in for specific things.
Yeah.
Like people that I've known or worked with over the years, or people who Ralph has worked with over the years. We know who works best for what.
Yeah.
And also too, like bringing in people who, like some people that I know from like doing special effects work. You know, bringing in a mold maker who's really good at making molds. He's going to make 1 or 2 molds, but then he gets to do a bunch of the stuff that he normally doesn't get to do, that he's actually really good at, but he doesn't get to do it because everywhere just makes him make molds, you know? So it's a little bit of everything. It's been nice that it's sad that the entertainment business isn't going so well over the past few years, and all through COVID while we were doing this, it was pretty bad, but we were kind of able to capitalize on that because there are a lot of really, really
amazingly talented people
who
for
were
sure.
available for long periods of time or had a very flexible schedule, and we were able to bring them in, and we all had a great time. No one ever wanted to leave.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It really was.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, so these are the beads. You can see how tiny they are. So you think how many of those go into something of this size. And let's take you next door to see the Casspir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is fabrication, wood shop, you know, where a lot of stuff gets made. And here we have the Casspir.
Wow, it's huge. I only know it from the films, you know.
Right. So yeah, come down here. I think when you stand towards the, you know, when you're not up high, you start getting a feeling of how big and imposing this thing really is. You know, it's. And then look at the detail. We've done the wheels. It runs. It's all functional. It drives. You know, the drive shafts, the leaf springs, everything is functional. We thought if we were going to spend so much time doing something, it had to be able to drive.
Yeah. Do you drive around in Los Angeles?
We do sometimes. Not so much at the moment since ICE is driving around in the real things.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can come around. You can look inside the back and.
It's like a party bus.
Well, it's got quite a history to it. But you look underneath, everything's done. You know, everything's done and everything's functional. Now the MiG is more than twice as long, more than 4 times as wide, and twice as high. So you get an idea.
It really has a frightening size.
It is frightening. I mean, it was built to intimidate, you know, and you think this was a reaction to 14-year-old kids throwing stones at police cars in 1976, and this is, you know, people think it's a military vehicle. It wasn't. It was a police vehicle. And, you know, part of the story we wanted to tell is how it made its way to America. How did this vehicle that started in South Africa as an apartheid police car wind up on the streets of Ferguson, Missouri, and Black Lives Matter protests with white cops sitting on top with machine guns? And it was, you know, there was a lot of PTSD, and that was very much the story we wanted to tell.
Yeah.
Needs a good clean, but otherwise, all good. And these were some paintings. We did live paintings when we had the show in Los Angeles. I collaborated with Bisco Smith on this one, Moncho 1929 on that. Maria Greenshields-Ziman, my wife, and I did the one with the tree. And I did this with Kiatama, who's a very talented South African artist, who's, a young South African artist, really, really talented. Yeah, so I think that's the space. Don't know if you've got any other questions or...
Yeah, I mean, what I want to ask you, the art at the Randon, you also have there several, projects, the hotel, the residency. And
we were doing that. We're doing a lot of residency. This room was used a lot for artists in residence. Friends, artists who needed a place to work. We had a couple of young Ukrainian artists who came back over here when the war started, and they worked here for 6 months. An amazing artist called J.D. Smith who does World War II battleships. Bisco Smith did a residency here. So it's just been a kind of an informal residency. We've kind of loved the energy of having different artists and different people come through. Art at the Rendon, we're doing a lot of programming prior to COVID. We did 3 big events there. One was an art event with 40, 50 different artists. One was an interactive theatre piece, and then there was a musical piece called The Rhythms of the City. And, Paul can probably show you a clip of that if you're interested. Yeah, and then COVID kind of put a stop to it, and we haven't really got it up and running again. But, that's something for down the line. COVID seemed to have changed a lot, and some things bounced back and some, haven't really.
Yeah, COVID really everywhere. You talk to people that have restaurants, producers. Yeah,
the film business really, died. So much stuff went away, and hasn't really come back. Yeah. It's quite sad.
So your new are there any new projects?
There's some new things that are kicking around, which I think would be really up your street, but we can't really talk about them yet. We talked a little bit about them before you switched the camera on. So it's we're just hoping to get a confirmation on something. But failing that, we've got a lot of ideas of our own stuff to do. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And next time,
definitely.
Great to cover it.
For sure, absolutely. Whereabouts do you live?
In Basel, Switzerland.
Oh, okay.
So, but I'm here almost every year. And maybe in October again. So
come and visit whenever you're here. Come over for lunch or coffee or whatever, whether you're filming or not. And hopefully we'll be on to our next project by then.
Well, Ralph's always collaborating, no matter what. Whatever's happening, people want to work with Ralph, and there's always collaborative opportunities. So we always have projects here.
Yeah. I mean, it was really very, very kind of you to let me see everything here. Because it's... you see a lot of that stuff on the internet, of course, and you can research a little bit, but it's a different thing when you're here and experience the room.
And you know what, the whole thing about this, the MiG is, it's not a digital clone, it's not a AI thing, it's real life, and you have to come and see it and experience it. Yes, you can look at stuff on the internet, but it's not the same. So what we do, we want to exist in the real world as much as we want to use, the digital world to promote it and get the word out. I think it's really important to have real life objects,
And especially because a lot of Ralph's work is based around having educational programming and working with DG Care, who's our philanthropic partner. Did you talk about the art?
No, we haven't, but it's really been about working with the people in Africa, working with our team in Africa, putting their kids through school and university and creating opportunities, because kids who've grown up in those inner cities haven't had role models, haven't had people to look up to, and that's and I think it's educating them and getting them to find ways where they can make a living, where they can thrive, where they can do well, where they can bring their, you know, intelligence and artistic skills and everything to bear in ways that they hadn't perhaps thought of. DTK also does microfinancing loans, you know, for the wives and people to set up, you know, businesses and to make a living. So, you know, that's been a part of it, which has been really also really rewarding. You know, they're just a wonderful team of people we work with in Africa, and we're very close with them and the families. And, you know, we, you know, they were guys who, when I met them, they were working on the street, they were selling stuff by the side of the road. And, you know, they've stepped up and they run the studio in South Africa by themselves now, and they've just been amazing. You know, it's been a revelation. Before COVID, I was back there 5 times a year. Since COVID, I haven't been back, but the studio's kept running and maybe better than ever before.
Yeah, that was when I was in Cape Town for the Zeitz MOCAA opening years ago.
Yes.
I also
actually, when Zeitz MOCAA opened, this was showing at the National Gallery in Cape Town, the Casspir.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what you said, you know, a lot of guys selling things on the street.
Yes.
And they were really good.
Yes.
It was not trash. It was really good stuff that they, good artwork that they sold
it
on
absolutely
the street.
is, yeah.
And also at Zeitz MOCAA, so many talented artists from there.
Yeah.
I was really blown away, and also my colleague.
Yeah.
And you know, we had this show in Basel, this group show that was also in at Zeitz MOCAA. But unfortunately, you know, it's still not many artists from South Africa are shown as, you know, solo exhibitions.
Yeah.
Because they have so many talent, and still it's not very known what they do. And for me, it was really a revelation.
Yeah, South Africa's still trying to escape that. You know, during apartheid, there was a cultural boycott, and artists weren't allowed to show their work, and you were boycotted if you're an artist or a singer. And you know, I think there is a kind of a hangover from that, you know, that somehow, you know, South African artists have had a hard time establishing themselves. And there's been some, I mean, there are some incredibly talented people, but then there are people like William Kentridge, who's done amazing. And, you know, I think he's probably the best artist in the world as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, there are fantastic artists there, and, you know, we just need to see more of them breaking through.
Yeah, as you see, as I said, not only the star artists, but also, yeah, there's a lot of to discover. You know?
There's a lot, and there's a lot of depth, and you know, the work is kind of unusual. You know, it doesn't look like everything else you see.
Yeah. So, what do you want to? What do we want to do? Do you want to talk a little bit?
You just brought up that collaborative we. What do we want to do?
You know, I mean, it feels so familiar somehow.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's a nice conversation.
I don't know. Do you have something that we could record? You know. I mean, you know, friends of the Zeitz MOCAA, I don't know.
Cindy, yeah, you can talk about
that. We can talk a little bit about Zeitz MOCAA, and if you want me to.
It's more Cindy than me, Zeitz MOCAA, but she can talk about it for sure.
Yeah, if you want me to talk about how I just came back, and I mean, we are working on the possibility of Ralph being there next year, which would be really, really interesting, because for him to be in Cape Town when he's already had for the Trilogy, he's already had the AK-47 project, he's had the Casspir Project at the National Gallery, so they aren't familiar with the MiG project. So to bring the MiG project and bring it all full circle back to Cape Town would be incredible, and there is a demand for that. So I am working on that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And how did you become? What was the reason? Or how did you become friends or American
Friends of Zeitz MOCAA? Yeah. Because I first of all, I work with Ralph, who's a South African artist, and so becoming a friend. American Friends of Zeitz MOCAA was really important to me, working with a South African artist, and also I've just always been involved with South Africa in one way or another, whether it's through the surf community and the culture that they have there, or the art community. I've always been involved with them, and so I just got involved with the group, which is a really fun group. We all travel together, and we all share different types of cultural activities, going whether it's to New York, Miami.
Yeah, Miami, I know.
Yeah. You saw us in Miami, Kate Pellins and myself. That's where we met you. Yeah.
Do you want to have a look at Maria's work as well?
So, Maria, just so you know, Maria.
Should I just ask her if she wants to?
We just spoke to her, Nick and I.
She doesn't want
to talk now.
All right, let's do that.
So, if you stand together, then we can leave it with this mic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So it's another room.
It's in the other
room. But I think Maria should talk without me.
What I need to express is that Maria just didn't realize that she was going on camera. She doesn't like to do sit-down interviews, but the way that your style is with process and walking around and talking about the process.
I put the microphone on her because I don't need to be around.
I think she should talk about her own work. Yeah. If anything, Nick might want to jump in. He builds all the frames and some of the helps her with the light, production side. So he also project manages her work there.
Okay.
So, but yeah, for Maria, you know how to get in there. She's just
and you can also talk to her about art at the Rendon stuff, and she's been very involved in that.
She's the creative director of art at the Rendon. So, and Maria's also on the board of ICAA and their secretary. So,
thanks.
Yeah, so Maria will have a lot to share with you about her involvement outside of the work here too. And as a developer, she does all the interior design for their projects as well.
It's just a very casual walk around.
Okay.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah, it's not a sit-down interview.
Okay.
It's just we walk around and talk.
All right. I'm glad it's not a camera. An iPhone I can deal with, but it's
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Very easy conversations.
Okay.
I'll be around.
All right. Bye, Ralph.
What are you working on at the moment?
Well, at the moment I'm working on getting enough material for a couple of shows I'm about to be having. And I'm primarily concentrating on light boxes. So I've been working on those for a little while. I kind of mix it up between light box and then like a two-dimensional painting as well, using spray paint and kind of multimedia.
So these are the spray painting on these light boxes?
Yeah, so if we talk about the light boxes, then it kind of started with me kind of using plants as templates. So I use real life leaves. I call them my victims because they get sprayed over. So I use like real life natural materials, like leaves and just like interesting shapes and patterns. And I spray over, I kind of pin them to vellum, which is this material, which is like a kind of it's like a sort of a transparent paper. And then I have that sort of image that I've sprayed over, which is a natural image, and then I build up. So I build up layers and layers and layers. So I use tissue paper, I use sometimes even like I'll throw in some natural materials, but then so behind this is actually many different layers of film, tissue paper, sometimes even real twigs themselves. Like here, I think that I actually threw in a bit of a real life piece of grass there. Is it flickering for you? Are they flickering?
They're flickering sometimes. It changes constantly the shutter speed.
It's the shutter speed.
Yeah,
so it's the frequency.
I had to set it to automatic because we go out and in. Then it has to change.
It's hard to film. So I kind of it's all about layering and using the natural shapes themselves. Like for instance, like this is a series that I did about the indigenous trees of California, the native trees. And I was wanting to talk about growth from like sapling to maturity, and so each layer is a different part of growth for the tree, and then what I did is I as I cut out each piece, I kept each piece and kept a record of where it went, and then this is the negative of the cutout of that. So in the same way as I did the cottonwood, you know, this is the negative of the positive image. And then with these light boxes, it's just like, you know, trying to bring out an image, trying to bring out the story, using a lot of color and layers, and they're also designed to be off and on. So
yeah,
it's
so
like
it's,
a kind of it's like a
it
drawing.
works also when it's
it
off.
works as both. Yeah. So
Yeah.
People might not want this on the whole time in their homes or whatever, so they can turn it off and then put it on again.
So nature was also always your interest?
It's always been my interest. I grew up in the countryside in Devon. I grew up on a dairy farm in Devon in England.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's always just been my safe space, I suppose. It's always just been my, you know, my inspiration, I suppose. And, you know, just living with the flora and fauna of that area, and the trees, and, you know, how they became like the characters in the landscape, and also very, very familiar to me, and I guess a source of solace as well sometimes. That, you know, I've just always had that affinity with trees and nature. And
Are you also
natural
inspired
forms.
by the nature here, you know? And,
Yeah. It took me a while to be inspired by the California, you know, flora, but I'm getting there. I'm still not terribly fond of a palm tree, but they're not terribly indigenous anyway. It's only one species that is, I think. So yeah, but you know, it also took me a while to find the beauty in like an arid landscape, because, you know, growing up in Devon, it's incredibly green and verdant, and so. But,
yeah, it's very different.
It's very different. You're German.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Black Forests, and it's totally different. But on the other hand, it's sometimes really nice to be in a more not so green area. You know, where you have a little bit more
space.
Perhaps, exactly. Yeah, and that's I think a lot of Europeans are drawn into the the desert.
Yeah.
Because if you have it all the time, maybe you get tired of it as well.
You take it for granted as well, I guess.
So change is always nice.
I spent a little bit of time in the Black Forest. My mother's German, and well, she grew up in Hanover, but it's very far from the Black Forest. But we used to go there on holidays quite a lot, so it was beautiful. It's lovely, lovely area.
I mean, I like the desert because it's. I mean, I like the sun. Mm-hmm. I'm not a guy that likes a lot of cold things, and but only desert may be difficult.
Yeah, sure. No, I think that would be pretty hard for me. And then so this is, you know, also with the more two-dimensional work. I mean, I studied as a sculptor, and I worked primarily in steel for a very, very long time, until I really messed up my shoulders with all the bashing of the steel and everything. So now, you know, the few pieces I've done in steel recently are like these pieces in the corner here, which is using very thin metal. So there wasn't much bashing involved. But I think I've always been like searching for how to depict three-dimensionality in two-dimensional form. So I feel like, you know, I want to somehow get that feeling of immersion in nature, but in, you know, on a flat surface. So with these pieces, the process being is that I start with I spray all the panels completely black, and so I start with this all, you know, just all 9 panels will be completely sprayed black, and then I layer up. So I layer up the foreground, and then I spray, and then I layer up the midground, and I spray, and each spraying gets lighter and lighter. So in fact, that becomes the background. So and then I pull, and once I've got like 5 or 6 layers, I pull everything off at once, all the plant materials off at once, and then like stand back and live with it for a while and figure out, you know, what it's wanting me to say, and then I go back in with charcoal and you know, just kind of bring out the story. I mean, obviously when I lay each layer down for the spraying part of it, it's very intentional. There is a compositional element to it, but I never really know how it's going to turn out. So that's the exciting part of it. Sometimes there's, you know, wonderful excitement, and sometimes it's like, oh shit, that didn't work, so I'll just start again.
How do you know when to stop?
Well, that's a problem. I think that's always a problem.
Yeah, I think for every artist.
I think when you come in the morning and you look at it, you know, it's that all important point you know, when you've had a break from it and you come back and look at it afresh and you think, yeah, there's nothing more I can do to it. You know, it's like but it's a difficult point to reach. Quite often I just have to actually intentionally just stop myself. Because I feel like, you know, I can overwork things. So these two are kind of, you know, meant to be sort of shown together. Nick made these beautiful frames. Nick and his team made these beautiful frames.
Yeah, frames are not unimportant.
No.
Even if you have a look at the, you know, old masters,
yeah.
The frame plays a crucial role.
Yeah, very important. Well, especially as these are sort of, you know, really kind of describe how the piece should be seen, in that this is kind of like a window onto nature. Yeah. You know, like you're looking from the inside out kind of thing. This is the piece that I'm working on at the moment, which Nick has just, he's mocked up the frame for me so I can see it within the frame, and I'm just kind of working on it, bringing out the story.
And this is how you work,
With this?
With this
yeah.
panel?
So this is I don't know if it's on. Yeah, it is. So I'll work, you know, on this size pieces. I'll work, you know, between this big light box and then kind of, you know, layer and layer. But this, I mean, for instance, this particular piece, I made each of the leaves individually. So I'll spray around leaves, and then I'll color them with ink, and then I'll you can see they're all individually made.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
From the same vellum, and then I start making the piece, and there's a lot of cutting out, because I'll do the leaves, and then I'll cut out the background behind it. So it's just a learning process, and it's like each piece I learn something different. You know, I discover something different.
Cool.
And with these leaves, there was an element of like mono printing as well, using gel. So I'll stamp a leaf into the gel, and then I'll bring the vellum on top of that and roll it, pull it off, and then, you know, you get this kind of beautiful pattern from the leaf. A lot of people think that,
camera can see
yeah, a lot of people think that there's like a photographic element to it, but there's no photography at all.
Yeah.
It's all just, you know, drawn.
But are these from real?
They're from the photograph that I took, actually from looking out onto the 10 freeway in Santa Monica. And strangely enough, I did this one first, and I did this one in January of 25, fateful time. And I didn't really realize what I was doing, but this, you know, this could be viewed as smoke, you know, and it is quite monotone, obviously. And then I revisited that image about 6 months later, and it became this. So this is like regrowth after. It could be seen as that. I don't know if I was intentionally thinking that. It could have been, you know, subliminal. But yeah, this is like, it's just like a verdant kind of, you know, revisiting of this.
Cool. And you said at the beginning you have you work for exhibitions. Can you tell me?
Yeah, so I have a
where you show?
I have a group show coming up at Skate Gallery on the 21st of March.
This is where, in Los Angeles?
That's in, is it Newport Beach?
Corona del Mar.
Yeah, Corona del Mar, yeah. So that's in Newport Beach, and then I have another one at Matter Gallery on the 26th of April, and that's a solo show. So I'll be showing the light boxes in like a kind of a darkened room at the back, and then you know, the paintings in the front room. And then to darken the room, I actually made these. It has clerestory windows between the two rooms, so I made these pieces as an installation above on the top there, so that it will darken the room. And then there's also a sliding glass door, and I made this piece for the sliding glass door, so that will also darken the room.
This one,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And the natural light will shine through.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately I won't be here.
You won't be, okay.
for the exhibitions, but I hope we have sometimes in the future another exhibition.
Yeah. Are you going back to Germany, or what are you doing?
Next week, Monday. I have to go back.
Oh, you know what we forgot to mention that might be helpful for you based on like how you were talking about Ralph. Maria was actually with the European Cultural Center for the Venice Biennale.
Oh,
so
okay.
she did have an exhibition there.
Okay.
So if you wanted her to talk a little about that.
Yeah, if you.
That too.
Yeah.
You maybe. Sorry.
Tell me about that.
Well, it was. It was.
I put you on the spot. Okay.
Yeah, no.
We don't need to talk about
Yeah, no, it was just. It was a show.
Thank you so much. I mean, it was really nice this tour of the space, and yeah.
You're welcome.
It was very
Nice
very
to
interesting.
meet you.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's really a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Being here
There's a lot
and
happening.
for finding time for us too, because we know how busy you've been, you know, with all of your studio visits and museum visits and all. It's been a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, maybe if you come to Basel, let me
Yes.
know. So
Yeah.
I show you our
The
studio.
real Basel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The real
Yes,
art
that's
Basel.
it.
Cool.
The OG.
Okay. Hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so this is part of my camera collection.
Wow.
Always been kind of fascinated between this nexus between guns and cameras, shooting with ammunition versus shooting with film, taking photographs versus taking lives.
But you really shot like that, you know.
I haven't.
With
But
this.
These are real. I mean, this is an American military World War II, and this was military issue World War II film camera. This is a different model of the same one, as is this one here. That is a Vietnam era war correspondence camera. You know, these were all kind of production cameras. They really, you'd never have something like that now, but I'm kind of fascinated. This is KGB. It was made in Kiev in the 60s. It's called a sniper camera, and it focuses like that. You can see it says Kiev on the side. And this was KGB. So it focuses by pulling this in. It's a little stiff, and you pull the trigger and it takes a photo.
I've never seen that before.
So yeah, these are some of them. This was for doing aerial reconnaissance, but also kind of, with the shape. There's a couple more. I've got some more of them somewhere. Here's another one. This one actually had a focus mechanism that you focused it here and you film.
Oh, it's right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
A lot of them are standard production. Some of them are kind of homemade. Like for instance, this one appears to be homemade, but I really like it. It's a Super 8 camera. Looks like somebody made it themselves. Kind of cute.
That's really something about, you know, this mechanical stuff.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays we have just these boxes or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But interestingly, the mechanical cameras were used even up until fairly recently, because if you were doing wildlife photography, you had nowhere to charge the batteries on an Aeroflex, an electric one. So, you know, these cameras were, up until maybe, 10, 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, they were still in use.
Yeah.
If you're in the bush for an extended amount of time, the batteries didn't last that long. And
have you ever done wildlife photography?
no, I mean, I would love to. It takes patience, and I don't have that kind of. It's a very specialized thing, you know. But yes, I mean, I definitely admire it.
Yeah, me too. But as you said, I don't have the patience for that.
No. So this is Jessica's studio. She works in glass. She's got a lot of ideas and stuff up here, and I can open this up and show you outside.
Jessica's Ralph and Maria's oldest daughter, so they're creative in the whole family here. Yeah.
Oh, you have a nice view to the bridge.
Oh yeah, we certainly do. What is that? Somebody's trash can. Come on up here, I'll show you. There's a...
If you head up this way right here, there's another rooftop right here with an incredible view.
Wow.
Nice and fresh.
Yeah, doesn't it? With all that wind, that kind of cleaned out the air a little bit, I guess.
So you got downtown
cool.
Los Angeles over there. There's a beautiful view of it.
Wow.
You got the 6th Street Bridge, at least some of it. Yeah, I love this area. It's industrial, but it's creative, and
Yeah, you have a lot of creative companies here.
yes, a lot.
A lot of community building with that too.
Yeah.
It's happening. We're going to have a block party here next month. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, I remember when Luna was here.
Yes,
And,
it's just across the road there.
yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun, yeah.
I like what they did with the film area where you could watch the film, right? Wasn't that fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, where they had the beanbag chairs and kind of areas for us to all.
Well, the first time I came here to Luna, I thought, hey, what's going on here? You know, you don't expect that to have that much, that many, companies that are here, because it looks, for European, I guess it's a little bit strange that you can't really see what's happening. Sometimes you have a sign.
I think it's the nature of the area as well. There was a lot of backlash against what was considered to be gentrification, but these are empty factories. They're not, it's not like you taking someone's living space, but the local communities, so there was a lot of kickback against that.
Yeah.
It felt like the area was being gentrified, and so a lot of people didn't, they kept a very low profile. Yeah. I think that's gone away a little bit now.
So you can see there's a lot of graffiti that's all down these streets right here.
Yeah.
And that was all from a bunch of crews that were all together. It's called Meeting of Styles. It's an international competition that they do with different graffiti crews from the world. So, and that just happened that happened Labor Day, so in September. But there'll be some great, really nice productions with different crews. They're all down this way right here.
And are they?
This is the
this
6th Street
is
Bridge. So this is where they're putting together a park. And so the park's going to have like a soccer field.
Yeah.
It's going to have an amphitheater, a gallery, dog park. It's supposed to bring together the Arts District and Boyle Heights together as a community. And you know, if you read about the 6th Street Bridge and what the goal of it was, you know, it's kind of the gateway to bring you to downtown LA. Yeah.
When was this built? The bridge?
The bridge was just built. It just opened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago.
Yeah, maybe 2 years ago.
3 years ago. Yeah. And now the park is supposed to open, I think, in the summertime. So they've been working pretty hard on it.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I just hope they look after it, you know?
Yeah, that's the big question for us all.
Nice. In the mountains there, that's...
There was snow cap on those mountains last week from those rains.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Oh, beautiful, right?
There's Pasadena or... yeah.
Yep.
Wow, it's really great here.
Wow, the temperature.
Yeah.
Really nice the way that Maria designed these windows. You know, it really gives you this incredible feel when you're in this space here. We have a little dog that hangs out right there.
Ah, okay. There are not many cats around here.
Oh, there's some wildcats. There's lots of wildcats in the area.
Yeah,
Cats,
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are.
Okay.
Yeah, but dogs, everyone has dogs around here.
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Americans are dog mad.
Yeah, and
They
also
treat them like children.
art goers as well. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah,
never
at the
seen
fairs.
so many at the fairs, at the galleries. You know, a lot
Everywhere,
of
everywhere.
It's true. It is true.
And you even see them pushing them in the prams and like the pushchairs, like babies, you know?
And with their sweaters and all
Yeah.
the different outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should come on Halloween and see the dogs in fancy dress.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
They dress them up for.
Okay, you should do a video on that.
You should. It's really
Special.
funny.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Little alien dogs, little like, you know, zombie dogs, everything, you know?
Yeah, I should do that because another idea is to compile a video with all the dogs I filmed at shows.
You got to film the dogs who look like their owners and put them all together.
Yeah.
And a lot of them at the shows do look like their own.
They certainly do.
Yeah. No, it's really funny. I like that.
You know, out of all the things, that would probably go viral like nothing else, you know?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
You could do the Halloween edition and the Super Bowl edition and the Christmas edition.
Yeah, we will do that. I always say, when I have time, I do that, but I really have to because I think that's really fun. Hey, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming.
It was really cool.
Do you need a lift
thanks a lot.
anywhere? Or?
No, as I said, I like to walk, you know.
I like to walk too.
Yeah.